Anyone, anywhere can have a great idea for the future. But when all of our ideas, thoughts and experiences come together to inspire researchers, that's when we create a better future for all. Join Ireland's biggest brainstorm by visiting creatingourfuture.ie and tell us what researchers in Ireland should explore to create a better future.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Susan Keogh, and you're very welcome along to the Business Community Activation event of Creating Our Future, a Government of Ireland campaign to stimulate a national conversation that generates ideas from the public to inform the direction of research in Ireland. We're delighted to be joined this afternoon by a host of businesses from right across the country whose support is really pivotal in ensuring that this campaign reaches as many segments of Irish society as possible. From now until the idea submission deadline, which is the end of November, this campaign will be reaching out to engage people, groups and communities in our events and our activities. And central to this is working with the business community across the country to activate and engage their staff, their customers and the wider public to capture their ideas. This event this afternoon was co-organised by a large cohort of government and non-government business and stakeholder organisations who are going above and beyond to make sure the business community is involved in creating our future. So thank you to the American Chamber of Commerce in Ireland, the British Irish Chamber of Commerce, Chambers Ireland, the Industry Research and Development Group, IDA Ireland, Enterprise Ireland, Údarás na Gaeltachta, IBEC and Science Foundation Ireland, who are actively encouraging their industry members and their networks to engage and actively participate in this national campaign. Creating Our Future officially launched at the end of July, and over the course of August, the Public Engagement Campaign finalised a strategy to engage as many members of the public as possible before the closing date for submission of ideas at the end of November. In September, our Creating Our Future roadshows got underway and have so far visited 14 counties, and next week the roadshows will take to the road again, and by October the 25th, we will have paid a visit to every county in Ireland to chat to people about this campaign. So this afternoon, over the course of the next 15 minutes or so, various guests will outline some background information to the campaign, give updates on its rollout across the country, and provide some practical steps, which is really important for your business, so you know how you can both support and benefit from this campaign. So a quick run through in terms of the agenda for the rest of this session. I'll shortly invite Ciarán Seoige, who's the Deputy Director General of Science Foundation Ireland, and we'll discuss the overall campaign process in terms of its broader economic and societal benefits. And that'll be followed then by a conversation with Julie Byrne, who's Head of External Collaborations at Nokia Bell Labs and Chair of the campaign's Advisory Forum, who's going to be telling us why it's so important for businesses and companies to get involved in creating our future. And then I'll be joined by Seamus Carey, who's the campaign's public engagement consultant, who'll outline some of the campaign's planned activities and events, and he'll also run through the really practical steps that your business can take to support and to benefit from the campaign, as well as how to engage your staff and your customers and the public. Ciarán Seoige and Julie Byrne will then join us again, and we'll open the floor for a Q&A session. So at all times throughout this session, you can ask questions of our speakers. So use Zoom's Q&A function. Just click the Q&A button, type in your question and your name, and I'll do my best to ask as many questions as I can as we get through this session. And if you are chatting about our event this afternoon on social media, please don't forget to use the hashtag #CreatingOurFuture. But for now, I'm delighted to introduce Ciarán Seoige, who's Deputy Director General of Science Foundation Ireland, and Julie Byrne, Head of External Collaborations at Nokia Bell Labs and Chair of the campaign's Advisory Forum. Ciarán and Julie are both very welcome along today. Ciarán, I might start with you. I suppose let's start. Tell me a little bit about how Creating Our Future came about, and I suppose what exactly it is for people who are only coming to the campaign today.
Sure. So Creating Our Future is a government-led brainstorming session, and it's largely been inspired by other geographies around the world, particularly in the Netherlands and Flanders, where they engaged in a sort of public dialogue with their communities to understand what it is the public would like research to do. So this is about inspiring researchers. It's about going to the public and having that really inclusive dialogue where we engage the public to ask them, what, for the sake of your future, would you like researchers to be doing? So it's something we've thought about for some time. I had the opportunity to go and talk to our colleagues in the Netherlands, in Flanders, to understand the real benefits of doing this. They learned a lot. They learned a lot from engaging with their public. They got new ideas and new thinking that they hadn't really expected to come to the fore before. And that's really important to us. And Science Foundation Ireland and many of the other actors in the system, we've known for a long time this is something we want to do. We're all very good at working in our own bubbles, our echo chambers, and talking to ourselves. But what we really need to do is talk to the people that we don't typically get to and really get that inclusive dialogue. And those are the two words that I really would stress for the campaign. It's about inclusivity, getting to everybody, getting to that broad cohort of people, hence engaging with the business community today. And it's about a dialogue. So this isn't a survey, this isn't going to the public for a one-time view and tell us just your views, but it's about getting the researchers and the public to engage in the dialogue. So the roadshow you referenced there as well is an opportunity for the researchers and the public to talk about science. And that gives them, and research in general, and that gives them an opportunity to have much more engaged questions. So it's something we're passionate about doing, and some time ago we brought this idea to Minister Harris. If you've ever heard Minister Harris talking about it, he's talked about it with such passion for that inclusivity and that dialogue. He's been very supportive about engaging this programme, and as Science Foundation Ireland, our job has really been to be an enabler of the process.
So there's lots of people involved, and you mentioned Minister Harris there and his department. Tell us a little bit more about all of the stakeholders who are involved in the campaign. Yeah,
we're very fortunate there. We have that's the beauty of Ireland in some ways. Small, connected country, which means that we can quickly mobilise across a broad section of the community. So this is an all-of-government initiative. It's supported by every government department, every agency. And the process here was taken to Cabinet. It's led by Simon Harris and his Department of Further Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science. It's got all the research funders, all the actors, all the universities are engaged, and we're having conversations about how this should be led, how it can be driven, how we can make it as effective as possible. And we're also very lucky to have an advisory forum, which I know Julie will talk about later on, but the advisory forum is an opportunity for every possible part of Ireland's communities, business, etc., to engage in this, to really bring the message out. And by using that, we're already seeing through social media and the analytics, this is a 10 times increase in the reach and the number of people we're getting to. So we're starting to have that inclusivity. We're starting to get the ideas coming from people that we wouldn't normally talk to. So it's got everybody involved, and we want to keep involving more people. And this is why we really need to engage the business community today.
We keep talking about ideas. That's sort of at the heart of the campaign. I guess tell us a little bit more about what you mean about an idea. Are we looking for research ideas as such, or what does it mean?
So an idea can be anything, and it's really important that an idea doesn't have to be the solution. So we're not looking for the final solution or people to have a very clear
I think
idea.
it's really important that people remember that, because I think people might shy away if they think, but I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm certainly curious about it.
Yeah, exactly that. So we're trying to make sure that we get in the ideas from people. We're trying to get that inspiration for researchers. Then the researchers can go about looking into what are the solutions, how do we solve this. But it's an idea, and the idea can be anything. When we talk about research, and so in the context of research, it's everything from, it could be environment, it could be any technology, right through to the arts and humanities and communities, social science. It's all aspects of research. And if we've learned one thing from the pandemic, it is that all aspects are required to make the whole work. So any idea, anything people feel passionate about, and it might be something that they're passionate about in their local community, in their business groups, that particular industries are worried about, or just curiosity, ideas that they've said, I've always thought this, and they want to submit that idea. Because the thing is, and our commitment on the other side is, every idea will be looked at by the experts.
So we're joined obviously by a lot of business organisations today from right across the country. So I suppose, what are you saying to them in terms of how their business is, some issues that they might have as a priority at the moment, and how Creating Our Future can help them with that? Yep.
So what we're saying to businesses today is engage with the process. Let us know your thoughts. We'd like to hear from you. But equally, engage on the other side, which is ask the researchers to come and have those conversations. So Creating Our Future, the website is there, the portal is there, so anybody can put an idea into creatingourfuture.ie. But equally, you can contact us there and say, I want to have a conversation. So any business group, if you're having a brainstorming session, if you're having a strategy away day, team building, anytime you want that inspiration, that new idea to come in, engage with us, and we will find the right researcher who will come and talk. We're fortunate in Ireland. We have world-class researchers who just want to go and tell people what they're doing, to talk about their research. And there's an opportunity then for them to learn as well what's important to people, what businesses are worried about, and to learn more in terms of how that would impact their research. And that's why that concept of dialogue is so important. So businesses today will really ask you, come to us, let us know when you're having your events, if you want that inspiration. And it can be in your field, in your area that you're working as a business, or just areas that are of interest to your people. And your
so SFI can link up all of the businesses if they want to speak to researchers. You can help with all of that. Kieran, I suppose, what does success look like with a campaign like this for you?
Success in this campaign looks like we've had a dialogue and we've been inclusive. Those are the two things I'll always talk about. We've gotten to a wider cohort. We've really got representation from all areas of Ireland. Ideally, we'd find new ideas, new things that we haven't thought about that's of real interest to the public. And we've created a report that really represents a broad sector of views with really good ideas coming in that will be the inspiration for researchers for years to come, that researchers can look at this, because this will go to Cabinet, it'll go to funding agencies, it'll go to researchers, and we will inspire them to say, this is important, or something I haven't thought about. So really success is that we've had that dialogue, it's been two-way, we've closed that gap as well, so there isn't a gap of any kind left, between that sort of triangle of policymakers, the public, and researchers, and we've brought that really, really close in a very cohesive way, and we all have a clear understanding of what's important, and we inspire those researchers to deliver on that in the years to come.
What's important to you? What's your idea for the campaign?
Yeah, lots of ideas for the campaign. And every time I think about it, there's more ideas come forward. The two places I look for inspiration for the ideas, some of those ideas that I've already put in, like I'd like to see loads of research in this transdisciplinary space where, the convergence of new technologies does new things, and we can use quantum technologies and artificial intelligence to solve, problems in medicine and material science. But the other form of real inspiration is just talking to my own kids and others, and just listening to what they come up with. They come up with fantastic ideas, And not surprisingly, the kids are really worried about biodiversity. And I worry that I have eco-warriors forming underneath me, but they're all really, that's where you get a lot of really good, passionate ideas coming forward. So conversations with other people will really inspire
Those
ideas.
family conversations, dinner table conversations can go a long way. Kieran, thanks so much for that. And Kieran will be back with us. He'll join us shortly to do a Q&A. He'll be back with us with Julie as well. But I want to jump on to Julie now. Julie, you're very welcome. Thanks for being with us today.
Delighted to be here, Susan. Thank you.
Tell us, Julie, you might start by, I suppose, telling us a little bit about your job with Nokia Bell Labs, and then obviously you're chair of the advisory forum. So how all of that works in together and how it all came about.
Very good. And I must say I'm so excited by this campaign. I sometimes forget I have a day job. But in the day job, I'm head of Bell Labs external collaboration programs. And in that role, I get to bring top academic researchers from around the world together with Bell Labs researchers to create future technologies. And I really was delighted to get to participate in this campaign because I'm passionate about research and passionate about the impact that it has on our everyday lives. I'm passionate about collaboration, and this is the ultimate beginning of collaboration, to have the conversations that Kieran talked about. And I'm also passionate about research in this ecosystem in particular. So it's, again, I think this is an amazing, creating our future is simply an amazing opportunity to tap into what is our collective curiosity, our collective imagination, and really inform the future of research in Ireland.
Tell us then, for businesses and companies who are joining us here today on the call, I know, because we've spoken about this before, I know you feel that their involvement in creating our future is, really fundamental to the campaign, and it will really help us reach a big group of people, and it will make the campaign better. I suppose maybe elaborate a little bit on that for us. Like, why is there, them getting involved so important?
I think there are so many trends that are influencing business at the moment, macro trends, local trends, but even in particular in my own space, if I think about, during this decade, technology is literally going to change how we do almost everything in our lives. We will be more and more immersed in digital online worlds. We will have increased not just our artificial intelligence, but really augmented intelligence. We will have robots really inserted into our lives, not just in the context of industry automation, but really in our everyday lives. So there are huge changes. How we work, how we live, and how we actually produce product, deliver product and services is really going to be transformed. This is a great opportunity. It's really important. There are many business leaders with us on the call today who are already on the crest of the wave of these trends, and they can see these trends and really understand and appreciate both the challenges as well as the opportunities that they bring. And this moment in time is a great opportunity to have those voices heard in this campaign and to bring the ideas that they have for, where it is important to invest in research, to really bring those into this campaign.
Yeah, and I guess that's the key, because not only are we asking for companies and businesses to support the campaign today, but we really want to highlight how it can be so beneficial to them.
Absolutely. So I think it's beneficial in the context of really literally a voice toward government in terms of what's important and toward the research community. I think it's also really important in terms of bringing the campaign to employees. And so it's a voice for your business, but it's also to give a voice to your employees and enable them to participate in the campaign. Because again, I think everybody across the country has ideas about the kind of future they want to create. And this is, so again, from a business perspective, bring it to your employees, bring it to your family and friends too, but certainly enabling that participation is important.
What does success look like for you then, Julie? Because I know you just have such a huge amount of passion for the campaign. So if you could kind of sum up, what do you really hope will come out of it?
So I think Ciarán touched on some of it in terms of what success looks like. But for me, what I really hope we can do is create an outcome from this campaign that really will genuinely inspire researchers, policymakers, as well as our communities. We as people in our communities are the ones that are really affected and impacted in our everyday lives by the outcomes of research. We may not always know that or feel that, but we are the ones that live with the outcomes. So I really hope we can create an inspiring outcome, but we can only achieve that through the broadest possible participation from right across the country, all communities. And as Ciarán mentioned, our inclusivity is so important to this, inclusive of all research and inclusive of all communities across our society.
Yeah, it's so important that we reach everybody and everybody gets involved, particularly people who, may not have kind of engaged with a campaign like this before.
And I think in particular, by the way, I think there are again, stakeholders across business who may feel that I'm not in research. This is not necessarily for me. I have no particular say, or I don't know what's happening in that research space. This campaign is not about knowing the research. It's about having a sense of, I care about this particular area and I would like research to explore that particular area. So
yeah,
again,
it's your
whether
lived
it's
experience.
Absolutely. So whether that is technology, infrastructure, the way we work. How are we going to live and work as communities when we are so immersed in digital worlds, within the next 10 years? How are we all going to be affected by that? And I think, again, this is a great opportunity for everybody to have their say.
What is your idea, or give us one of your many ideas
I have a
for
few.
the campaign?
I do have a few. Have you time for two?
You can give us two. Go on.
So one is that I again, in the context of being very, very immersed, I know we've all spent the last 18 months on Zoom calls and video calls. Actually, it's nice to be at a meeting in person. But we really are going to see a level of immersion way above and beyond what we can imagine today. And in that context, I think research needs to explore, what does that do to human empathy? What does it do to our sense of human community? And there's specific research in terms of how are we going to design and plan for community living in the context of these very digital online worlds that we're going to live in. So that's one area that I care deeply about.
Which is really interesting, and I think people particularly feel that after the past 18 months.
Absolutely. And so elements of town planning, urban planning will become so important because we'll need to feel that sense of community. The other area that I also feel quite passionate about, and maybe in my local context, is peatland transformation. So we know this is important in terms of climate change and eco-sustainability. There's also economic opportunity. So we have scientists and economists working very hard on visions of transforming the peatlands. But what's also important is it represents a way of life. So I would like researchers to explore how we evolve our cultural heritage. How are we going to nurture and create a new sense of cultural heritage associated with our peatlands? So those are the two I'll share today.
Okay, lots of really good inspiration there for people on the call. But Julie and Ciarán, thank you both for that, and I know you both will join us for the Q&A session in a moment's time. I would like now to welcome Seamus Carey to join me on the couch. Seamus joined the campaign in July as a public engagement consultant and has been working with the team to develop the campaign's public engagement strategy and activity and engagement plan. Seamus, you're very welcome along. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks very much. I'm just trying to get myself comfortable here on the couch.
Sure, lie up there.
Exactly. I'm wearing the blazer for the first time in about 2 years, so it's meeting in person.
We heard from Julie there, Seamus, what she would like to see businesses and companies who've joined us on this call today, how she would like to see them get involved in the campaign, and Ciarán also. But I guess maybe we might just jump back a little bit, and you might bring us up to speed in what we have been doing to engage people and other stakeholders in the campaign up to this point.
Absolutely. So, as we know, and I don't think it's been mentioned yet, but our aim from this campaign is to get 10,000 ideas from the public. And so that requires a lot of thought as to how we can be, as Ciarán mentioned, as inclusive as possible, engaging as many members of the Irish public as we can from all parts of the country, from all demographics. And so we've put together a strategy that looks at both what we can do as a campaign and what we can organise, and then what our stakeholders, like the business community, might be able to support with. And so if we look at the campaign side, I guess it starts with our advertising and PR. So you will have seen our 15-second jingle at the start of this event, which has gone out on television and on social media platforms over the last couple of weeks. It's also on radio, a different version of it, obviously. And then we have our public relations campaign, which is dealing with local radio, local media, and national media about our roadshow and about the events that we are taking place. And so then we have our roadshow, which is kind of our big, and I'm about to use a pun here, our big vehicle for getting out and really engaging the public across Ireland. It's really nice, particularly as we emerge out of the COVID restrictions, to be able to engage people on the street. And I just have a slide that kind of gives you a sense of what that roadshow looks like. So we have our coffee truck, which comes round to locations in each county. We have researchers and campaign staff available at it, starting conversations with the public, understanding what their needs are in terms of what researchers might be able to support them with, and then have a cup of coffee, have a drink, have a chat with these researchers. And there's some kind of gamification elements. You can win some prizes, you can spin the wheel. It's our version of winning a streak on a smaller budget, obviously. But there's lots of exciting activities. And so that's a really good way of getting around the country and engaging the public. As we said at the start, we've gone 12 days so far. 12 days over 4 weeks is our overall aim. 32 locations have been planned so far, with more being added every week as we hear from stakeholder organisations and businesses who say, oh, we'd love for you to come and visit our location, and we'll provide the people if you can provide the activity. So that's one of our big vehicles. We then have events which we're doing, which are looking at ambassadors of the campaign, which we will be talking about in the coming weeks. And we're doing online and in-person events with those. And that's to provide a route into the campaign for people who might not normally have heard about something like this or be usually involved. And then finally, we have other activities. We have a schools outreach program and lots of other things that we're working on. So that's the campaign side, I guess. And then we have the stakeholder activities. And these are, by stakeholders, we mean public bodies. So a lot of government departments and semi-state bodies are involved, either directly or through our advisory forum. We have the community and voluntary sector, a lot of NGOs that are getting involved, and then we have the business community. And those we feel are really pivotal as activators of the campaign, because they have all these existing networks, they have connections with people and members and staff all around the country, and they're a great method of activating the campaign. And so the three things we're trying to do with those is, one, promotion. And so that's popping information about the campaign in your staff newsletter, in your member newsletters, mentioning it at staff away days, having postcards of our campaign available in your premises that people can fill in, popping it on social media and talking about it, visiting our roadshow, lots of different ways that you can just promote the campaign and your involvement in it. And then we talk about internal events and external events. And we'll touch on this a little later, but internal events are, can we tag a brainstorm or a short information session about the campaign into an away day that you're doing with staff, or a staff meeting, or some kind of event that you already have planned internally that this is a nice fit with. Or perhaps you're doing an external event on a research topic or on a topic that's particularly important to your business, and maybe we can tag a brainstorm onto that or some information about the campaign. So lots of different ways that businesses and those other stakeholders can get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose then in terms of like practical steps, so say there's a business engaging with us here today, they're hearing about creating our future for the first time, but they think absolutely this is something I would like to get involved in. I would like to support it. I would like to benefit from it. Have you some practical steps then maybe of how they go about it today?
Absolutely, and I think just to echo, I guess, Julie's point around there really is a couple of things in it for businesses here. So from the business side, it might seem like, look, we're asking you to do a lot of things to get involved, but there actually is some huge benefit in it for you. And I guess the number one thing is it really is your opportunity as a business to shape the research that will happen in Ireland over the next couple of years. So the report that will be generated from this campaign will play a really important part in deciding what kind of research activities happen. And so I know that businesses in Ireland, particularly after COVID, are facing a lot of challenges, but also a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
And so, as Julie mentioned, they could be worried about things like a hybrid working model. How's that going to work? How are we going to keep staff engaged with their colleagues? We all know ourselves from Zoom calls. We tend to be very focused on the work at the moment. So we start the call, we discuss the work, we end the call, and there's no personal time to get to know your colleagues or really engage. That's something that research is going to have to look at. As Julie mentioned, there's a load of new technologies coming down the line, if that's artificial intelligence, automation, it could be drone delivery. There's a load of things that we need to be thinking about. What does this mean for Ireland, and what research needs to be done to really ensure that businesses are future-proofed for this? I know, for example, another is autonomous vehicles. Are we set up to really cater for that, and what do we need to do to be ready for that impending change, I guess, in technology? And so really it's a chance for businesses to really ensure that their needs are being addressed in the research that is coming. And that's what we're asking businesses. Submit your ideas, let us know what's important to you, and ensure that those things are going to be covered by researchers. But secondly, I guess it's really important for staff, and there's two aspects of that. So one is it gives your staff an opportunity to really share what's important to them, what things are on their front of mind, and what they want researchers to help with. And this might be housing, it might be the cost of living, it might be looking at how to build strong rural communities. I know a lot of people after COVID have decided, actually, I don't want to live in a city anymore.
Yeah.
I want to be in the country, I can work remotely. But what does that mean for our rural countryside and for towns and villages, and how do we build those strong communities? And so it's a chance for businesses to understand what their staff are interested in and what things they are worrying about or that they want to see researchers look at. And it's also a chance for them to engage those staff in the process and provide a vehicle or an outlet that they can get involved in the campaign. So I know a lot of companies after COVID are looking for how do we re-engage our staff.
Yes, because people are coming back to the office quite recently
Exactly.
and haven't seen each other in a long time. So it's a good sort of nearly well-being piece in terms of doing it that way.
Exactly. And now I'll go back to your original question, which you did ask me, is what are the practical steps that they can do to get involved? So I have a slide which you can hopefully see on your screen now, and it lists through the 5 things that a business can really do. And just to make note that we do have information packs with all of this information, all of the links available, all of the tools, all of the materials that you need, and we'll be sending those out to everyone that participated in the call tomorrow. And so the first is really assigning a campaign champion in your organization. So with the best will in the world, a business will say, we'd love to get involved, and then unless you really have somebody inside that is going to be the driver of it, that you can liaise with, best laid plans sometimes don't happen. And so it's great to have that person inside. And this could be someone that comes from a HR department. It could be somebody from a CSR side of the business, if you have that. It could be somebody from an employee engagement part, if you have that. But there's lots of different areas of a business that might be suitable for a campaign champion. If you have an events person that's organizing events for your business all the time, then that will be suitable as well.
I have a question here actually just in relation to organising events. Will the campaign team provide a researcher to participate in an event that we might organise? So is that possible?
Absolutely. So as we said on the events, we're looking for kind of 2 type of events. One is a staff event. So maybe you want to add a brainstorm onto your existing event if you're doing an away day, if you're doing a staff meeting. if you're having an event around a theme with staff. And so you can either tag a brainstorm onto it, or you can also bring a researcher. And if you let us know what event you're doing, we'll happily connect you with a researcher.
And actually, somebody wondering here, in terms of the brainstorms and internal brainstorm, if somebody wants to do it with staff, they're looking to see, could you explain a little bit more on how that might work?
Absolutely. And we have a brainstorming guide that we'll get to at the end of these 5. So we have 2 types. We have a full brainstorm if you want to do a kind of 45-minute session with your staff, or we have a 15-20-minute version. So depending on if you want to do a dedicated campaign event, or if you want to tag it on to something that you're already organizing. And so really for those events, it's about, can you tag it onto something? Have you a dedicated event already happening that you can put this into? Or how can we ensure that we are really engaging people and bringing them into the campaign? So that's organizing events.
Yeah.
Once you have that, we do have a form on our website that you can fill in, and this will let us know that your event is happening. You can request a researcher. We'll then be able to promote it on our social channels, let people know what's happening, and if it's open to the public, we can let people know how to register for it, or if it's an internal staff one, it's just nice to know what's happening, and we can promote that you're doing something with the campaign. The 4th is around promotion. This is again about internal channels, as I mentioned. You can talk about the campaign on your social media, on your internal newsletters, on your staff internal portal, if you have an internal comms portal, or you can just make our postcards available in your business and let customers know as they are calling in. Or again, if you have an outreach you do, maybe you have a monthly update on trends that you do to clients or customers, you can include this in it as well and let people know that you are involved. So again, if you sign up as a campaign champion, we'll provide a newsletter each week with all of the campaign activity happening and let you know what you might want to talk about on social or what you might want to repost on your channels. And then finally, I guess it's a very simple one. It's engaging your family and friends. So we're very strong on the idea of a multiplier effect. If everyone that hears about this campaign speaks to 5 different people about it, we can really start to build a multiplier effect and really ensure that we're reaching every aspect of Irish society and every demographic. And I did this with my family over the summer. We had a small gathering in our back garden for my brother's 50th. I was about to age myself there, I know. I haven't gotten that old yet. And so that was actually a really enjoyable experience where I thought, oh no, I'm going to test this with people and they're going to go, Seamus, you're bringing down the tone of this. It's supposed to be a celebration. But actually, it started some really interesting conversations. And by the end, I wasn't able to get people to stop talking about it because it's a chance to kind of share your frustrations with things in life, but also share your hopes and aspirations.
Yeah,
and sometimes we don't have those serious conversations.
Let us run through a couple of questions that are coming in from people, some more of them. One here, could we use it as part of our external comms plan? How might that work? That is a possibility too.
Absolutely. So you can let people know that, look, you're part of this campaign. You can either run an event if you want to engage the public. You can bring in a researcher on a topic that's really close to your heart and then invite the public in to talk about it. Or you could just say, we're looking to engage our customers and hear and see your ideas about what's important to you.
Another question here, is there a financial investment needed from companies to participate or to access researchers for events? Which is a good question.
Absolutely not, no. So we'll provide researchers to you for free. We can't cover the cost of your events. So if you are doing something in person or if you're doing something on a webinar, that is your own cost to cover. But we can provide a campaign spokesperson that can give information about the campaign. I'm available if anyone wants me. And we do have those researchers that we can make available as well. So if you let us know what particular area you're interested in, we can find a researcher from that area and make them available and do a bit of matchmaking.
We know the deadline for submissions is November the 30th. Someone's asking here, what is the deadline to organise an event? So
anytime up to that date.
Okay.
So if you want to do something, I'm trying to figure out if there's 30 days in November or 31. Yeah, 30 days of September. Exactly, going back to my primary school days. Yeah, if you want to organise something on the 30th and get submissions at that,
that's okay.
Absolutely fine. And what we find is, if you are doing an event or doing a webinar or engaging staff in a kind of live environment, if you can give people time to submit in that live environment, you'll get more ideas. Because what tends to happen otherwise is people go, that's really interesting, I'll have a think now, and I'll
do it
submit
tonight.
something later,
Yeah, and then
tonight
just might
becomes
get around.
next week and the week after, and yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else then you'd like to add in terms of we've done the brainstorm?
Yeah, so there's the two brainstorms, as I mentioned, our 15-minute one or our 45-minute one. We do have guides for all these, so again, all these materials will be provided to you. We have a process that takes 15 minutes. It's introduce the campaign, introduce the brainstorm, show the questions and the prompts. And these are, again, our question here is tell us your idea for what researchers in Ireland should explore to create a better future. You can think of an opportunity or a challenge for yourself, for your community, for Ireland, or it can be for the world. It doesn't have to be just focused on Ireland. Or it can be a topic that you're curious or just passionate about. And I know when I talked to my nephews and nieces about this, my nephew was obsessed with saving the bees.
Yes.
And so that's one that keeps on coming up from him. But we have also developed thematic areas or themes which we can use as thought starters in brainstorm. So if people see the question and go, I'm not really sure what you're looking for or how to think about it.
It can kind of help bring you around.
Help to bring it, yeah. So all of these are in our materials. It's a very simple process and very easy to do.
So with the website there and the email, and people will get their packs then next week.
So if you have any questions, email us at events@sfi.ie. We'll happily engage with you. We do drop-in sessions every Thursday, and it's 12 o'clock until 12:45. You can drop in. All of those will be the details in the information packs. But you can drop in, hear about the campaign, ask any questions you have, and we can keep you updated with what's going on. And if you want to arrange something, email us or fill in the form on our website, and we'll happily get involved with you. But again, our website is creatingourfuture.ie.
Brilliant. Seamus, thanks so much for that. Seamus Carey there, Public Engagement Consultant with Creating Our Future, and we thank him for being with us today and taking us through those very practical steps for businesses and companies in how and why they should get involved. So I hope that was of some help, and you can check out the website where there's lots more information, and we will indeed be in touch with those packs early next week as well. But we have been getting in some questions from people who've joined us on the call, so I'm going to welcome back Ciarán Seoige, Deputy Director General of Science Foundation Ireland, and Julie Byrne, Head of External Collaborations at Nokia Bell Labs and Chair of the Campaigns Advisory Forum. You're both very welcome back. So we've lots of questions. Are you ready? It's going to be a quick fire round. Okay, Ciarán, we will start with you. Talk us through the importance of research to the Irish economy. There's a lot of talk now about protecting our R&D and our attractiveness as a country. Just how important is it, and what role does it play in a broader society?
Okay, so it's a very important part for us as a country because we are a knowledge economy. And so I would say it really breaks down to two sides of things. One is for the foreign direct investment. You know, we need to be that attractive location, that where the locus of where things are happening. So when we talk to companies, you know, a lot of what they tell us is we want to be near the new ideas. We want to be near the best people. We want to be near that. So that element of producing those and retaining those best people in Ireland with the new ideas that attracts companies, that's one aspect of it. You know, the external perception, bringing it into Ireland. But the second part, of course, is, you know, increasing that sort of competitiveness of our own indigenous companies. So it's about making sure that there are new spin-outs and new companies, ideally unicorns, coming from the research that's done in Ireland to give us new capabilities as well. And that all feeds into those high-value jobs of the future and keeps our economy humming.
Okay, good answer. I hope that is of help to whoever asked it. Julie, one in here for you. As Head of External Collaboration with Nokia Bell Labs, how important do you think collaboration is between business and research? How can business benefit from such a collaboration, and in turn, how do our researchers get involved?
Yeah, and let me just, because I also feel passionately about Ciarán's question, if I can just add to that. I think, you know, the aspect of keeping Ireland competitive is really important in the context of research investment. You know what, in my global role, I get to see already how countries are really, as they're emerging and defining their post-COVID recovery paths, are making big investments in advanced technologies, areas such as 6G and related technologies. They're making really significant investments in Germany, France, other countries in Europe. So, you know, we need to make sure that we remain competitive. So anyway, just to add to Ciarán that I agree with wholeheartedly with what he said. The aspect of business and research, I think it's really important. Researchers want to have impact. So from the research side, it's really important that they have real-world application, real-world problem definition to help them have a path to impact, because they really do want to have impact. And of course, from a business point of view, that partnership is so important, because we are really solving problems that are going to come at us in the future. We're preparing ourselves for the technologies, for the environments that we're going to operate in the future. So it really is a very important two-way relationship.
Kieran, someone else asked, what are the opportunities for Ireland in terms of research? Where, are there specific areas where we have a lot of potential?
Yeah, one of the strengths for Ireland is that we're small. So sometimes it's looked at as, we can't compete with the behemoths of research across the world because we're so small and don't have the major budgets. But it's actually equally our opportunity. We're small, we're connected. We can show that with Creating Our Future, the ability to mobilize an entire company and our country and everybody behind it. So our advantage here really is that we need to use that interconnectivity of Ireland, use that small scale. There's a very few degrees of separation between researchers, business groups and ministers and the decision makers. So that is our advantage. So what we need to do is be on the cusp of the new technologies, the new things that are coming through, so we get that first mover advantage. We recognize those emerging and converging technologies that are coming. And then by being able to easily connect our industry players and our researchers in that and create the policies around it and the funding around it, we have an advantage to do something and give us that real strategic advantage for our economy and for our society.
Someone else is asking, Kieran, research is very much associated with larger companies. What about SMEs? Why should they get involved in this campaign or care about research? Can you answer that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's true, actually, that research is about large companies. In fact, we see sometimes through some of our own programs in SFI, the initiatives and the programs that SMEs use to give themselves that advantage. Sometimes it's small programs and engaging with some of the researchers that we have in partnerships. They can actually get real advantage for an SME and develop new products, new capabilities, new efficiencies in what they do. So actually, arguably, in fact, if an SME wants to really scale up and wants to go into new places, having that ability to engage easily with the research community, to use the skills and capabilities that are paid for, that are in the universities there, to give themselves that extra advantage is really important.
Would you agree with that, Julie?
Am I nodding my head
Yeah.
that hard, Susan? Sorry, yes. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think, it's an opportunity. SMEs can leverage the expertise that they don't necessarily have within their own four walls, to really give them a differentiator and give them an advantage to compete. So, and certainly my own experience of working with some of the SFI research centres is that they do in fact work with SMEs as well as with multinationals. So I think that's been one of the big advantages of the research centre infrastructure, is that it has really brought SMEs into that fold.
Julie, you might take this one too. Someone is asking, will we see the data from this campaign? How can we access it to help steer our work into the future? But that is a good point, because all of these ideas are going to be part of this book of inspiration, I guess, if we want to call it that. I think I might be stealing that from you, but...
I don't know, but I like it. If I said it before, well done me. So the data will be available with the report when it's published in March. But I think managing expectations is important here, and it's not so much about answering each individual question or each individual idea that will come through, but rather that every single input to this campaign, no matter, again, no idea too big, no idea too small, every single input influences a thematic area of research. And it's, again, that's what's going to be so important in terms of the outcomes. And the outcomes really will be representative of the voices of our communities across Ireland in the end result.
Kieran, we love to compare ourselves to other countries. We're always at that. But tell me, someone is asking here, but I'm interested too. How do we compare as a country when it comes to research on the international stage? Where are we?
Oof, that's a big question. So it kind of depends on the areas of the research you go into. So in some areas, happily immunology, we are very much up there in the world sphere. So typically areas where we have invested over long periods of time, we have really good experts who are in the top of their field around the world. And we measure that through citation indexes, and we measure through a number of different factors and publications. And so Ireland does punch above its weight, on many different factors. Obviously, we'd like to do better, but in many fields, we do punch way above our weight. Those fields like ag tech, it feels like ICT, artificial intelligence, a load of those where we are very, very good, very strong. It's been fortunate, to have that strength in immunology in Ireland when we really needed it. It's not something you turn on overnight, and I suppose That's a core element of creating our future in the program here is, especially for industry, anything you're going to need years from now, we need to be thinking about already, because the skills, the people, the thinking behind it, it's a process to develop those. So, if we're going to need specialists, PhDs, or programs, the people that come out of these systems in years from now, we better get our act together now and learn about it.
Yeah, it's a good point. You've made that point, Julie, before in terms of your day job, as you call it. But like, who would have thought at this point we would have been walking along the road on video calls with people? So like there will always be something that we do will become the norm for us down the line. But if we're not already working at it, then we won't be at the table, I guess, when it's due to happen.
That's absolutely so important, Susan, and I think I probably did talk about that last time, but really some of the things we do with technology today were science fiction not so long ago. And it won't be that long. I mean, realistically, within this decade, we are going to see a transformation again, that is a technology-driven transformation. But what I would also encourage is that as well as that, science and technology driven, they give us the tools in which to, live differently. But I really also encourage people, bringing the arts into this discussion is so important too. We need creativity. We need, a different side of the brain that actually challenges some of what's happening in technology, really interrogates it in a different way. So we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that this is actually about all research. So it really can be inclusive of cultural heritage, literature, history. I mean, all of these topics that are so important. We live in the present based on what we've learned from the past, and that will continue to be so true. And I think some of those, humanist and arts-related research will be really important when we think about what the world's going to look like 10 years from now.
Yeah, I think you're both so inspiring. I hope people listening today are inspired to put their idea in. If you are listening and you have ideas going through your head, do please take the few minutes it takes to submit the idea. It only takes 5 minutes. And we're almost out of time, but Kieran, just to come to you finally, and Julie, you've mentioned this as well, in terms of creating our future and the timing of it, we have learned so much over the last 2 years, and I suppose it almost feels like the perfect timing for something like this, for us to ask the people of Ireland to come forward with their ideas. It feels like the timing is really right to do this.
Yeah, it is. We talked about this before. This is something that we all think about, engaging with the public. But there's a convergence of factors that have really worked in our favour. The pandemic has brought research to the fore like never before. We've seen the importance of having that long-term investment in the country so we can turn it on when we need it. And equally, the advent of a new department focused on further and higher education, research, innovation and science, that creates that perfect convergence point that says now is the time to engage with that public. And we have a public which are naturally scientifically engaged anyway. Engage with that public, ask them the question and really start a dialogue, which I hope will continue on and be part of the natural progression of a continuous dialogue that we all learn from and continue to inspire the researchers with.
Okay, great. Kieran and Julie, thank you so much for being with us today. That is all we have time for. So before we leave, we would love to encourage you to just take those 5 minutes to submit your idea on creatingyourfuture.ie. We'd love to hear your ideas. It's really simple. Just click the submit your idea button and fill in the very short form. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. I hope you're all feeling as inspired as I am to get out and to spread the word about the campaign, to engage with your networks, your staff, your customers and the public, and of course, brainstorm with your family and friends. Your involvement really will make this campaign a success. We will be in touch on Monday with info packs and a recording of today's event. But until then, thank you for being with us and enjoy the rest of your week.